In the previous lesson, we talked about getting a domain name and the importance of having a professional-looking website. Let me first address the skeptics among you. You might think, I don't need no stinking website. But if you think that, you're already inching over toward that 80% group of second stringers. Remember them? They're the ones that only make 20% of the money. I'm pretty sure that's not a group that you want to be in. So trust me on this. You do need a good domain name. You do need a company email address. And you do need a great-looking website. Everything revolves around the internet these days, and your website should be the foundation of your business. Let's start out with a domain name. The domain name is the website address that someone would type into a browser to navigate to your website. It can start with www, but should also work properly if someone leaves off the W's. If you enter uavgroundschool.com in your browser, you are taken to Gold Seal's Part 107 Ground School website. uavgroundschool.com is the domain name. You may sometimes hear the term URL. This stands for Uniform Resource Locator and refers to your website domain name and possibly specific pages within your website. If someone asks for your URL, they're just asking for the domain name to get to your website. The domain name for the FAA's website is faa.gov. You can also get there by including the W's, so that would be www.faa.gov. The URL to the FAA's Remote Pilot main page is faa.gov/UAS. When you go to any of the FAA's website pages, you will actually see the full URL listed like this. The HTTP at the beginning will preface any website or page that you go to. The fact that this has the letter S on the end means that it's secure. And that's becoming more and more of an important point. Your website, even if it doesn't contain any sensitive information, should be secure. This security is provided by a digital SSL Security Certificate. Google doesn't like websites that aren't secure. If your URL doesn't start with HTTPS, Google may be hesitant to show your website in search results. And that's quite a big deal in terms of your overall marketing. It's crucial that people can easily find your website during Bing, Google, and Yahoo searches. We'll talk more about security certificates when we discuss your website. Right now, let's go through the process of purchasing a domain name. And if this is old news for you, bear with us. It won't take too long. We mentioned earlier that you can purchase a domain name at a number of places, including GoDaddy, Wix, or Squarespace. It doesn't matter where you purchase your domain name as long as it's a well-established company with a good reputation. A domain name should cost you less than $15 a year. Let's assume that the name of your company is Texas Rotor Pilots, Inc. In an ideal case, you would want your domain name to be very close to your company name. So let's check out rotorpilots.com and see if that's available. First, we'll type it into our browser and see if a site comes up. All right, bingo! There doesn't seem to be a website there. So far, so good. Now, one quick caveat when typing unknown URLs into your browser, you might end up at a malicious website, so be careful and use discretion. Okay, let's pay a visit to GoDaddy and see if the domain is truly available. At GoDaddy.com, type in rotorpilots.com into the search box. Well, what do you know? It's available. This is going to be easy. Add the name to your cart and you're ready to purchase. If you have an account, log in. If not, create a new account. Then complete the purchase with your credit card. When purchasing a domain name, you may have a number of options. One is to keep your ownership private, and this isn't a bad idea, else you'll start getting spam, email, and phone calls from unsavory characters from around the world. There's a small charge for the privacy option, but it's probably worth it. Once you've completed your domain name purchase, you can rest easy. You've locked it up so no one else can snag it. It doesn't point to a website yet, but it is safely registered to you. I have one more tip about choosing a domain name. Make sure that your domain ends in .com. Don't pick one that ends in .net or .anything else. Everyone's default is to type in .com at the end of a website address. If yours isn't a .com, you're opening yourself up to a world of confusion and missed leads. If you're a commercial business, only select a domain name that ends in .com. Even if you don't have a website yet, you can still set up an email account that reflects your new domain name. If your name is John, you could create an email account for john@rotorpilots.com. Maybe you'll also want a more generic one, such as admin@rotorpilots.com or maybe help@rotorpilots.com. The one thing that I strongly recommend against is using Gmail or some other free email service. It looks pretty unprofessional. People may well think that you're either too poor or too unsophisticated to have a dedicated company email account. Now, this is more low-hanging fruit, guys. It's relatively cheap and it's easy. So right now, at the very beginning, you need to do everything you possibly can to set your company up so that it looks professional and reputable. If you're going to begin skipping stuff this early on in the game, you'll be a second stringer before you know it. So remember, no Gmail account, no Yahoo Mail account, no Comcast, AT&T, or anything else. Your company email should have your domain name in it. Nothing else will do. Many drone operators will say that they don't need a website. They get most of their business from word of mouth. And that may be true for them, but it isn't necessarily true for everyone. And even if you do rely on word of mouth, how do referrals actually find you? Now imagine this. A happy former client tells their prospective new client that your company did a great job for them. The prospect is given your company name. So what do? They search for that company name on the internet, and there they are, hopefully looking at your website. Your website casts a broad net. It brings in referrals as well as complete strangers. It's frequently the first link in the communication chain between new clients and you. An effective website is the most fundamental solid platform you can have for your business, and getting one doesn't have to be horribly expensive either. Websites can be hand-coded, but unless you have programming and design skills, this can turn into a costly process. These days, most people use website creation systems such as WordPress. These allow you to create a website using a building block approach and standard templates. If you're already a computer geek, you can learn to use these tools like WordPress fairly easily. If not, there are tens of thousands of developers who can create a basic website quickly and for less than $1,000, and possibly for as little as a couple of hundred. We can't go into the nuts and bolts of actually building a website here, but I have some important tips to consider as you go through the process. First and foremost, decide what you want your website to accomplish. What do you want your visitors to do? It's great that they come and look around at your samples or demo reel, but what specific action do you want them to take? Do you want them to ask for a quote or join your mailing list? Do you want them to contact you by phone or email? Whatever action you choose is called the conversion. Until they take this action, they're just visitors. Your website's goal is to convert them into people that you have an active relationship with. So that's your first job, determining what a conversion is. Next is designing the home page so that it helps the visitor to convert. It entices, it compels, it does whatever is needed to get them to click that button that you provided for them. Once you've laid out what you want the website to accomplish, it's time to think about the aesthetics and functionality of the thing. And that starts on the home page. Almost every business faces the same challenge, getting the public to take notice. Not only do they compete with each other for these moments of recognition, they vie for customers who have short attention spans and who expect some type of gratification almost immediately. This is the world you operate in. Your website's homepage is just like a restaurant storefront. People come by and take a quick look and decide if they want to go in. Now, there's an old saying that you can't judge a book by its cover, but people do that every single day. So, knowing that, use it to your advantage. Your homepage absolutely must look appealing and professional, yet unintimidating. It should provide an overview in a welcoming format. Tell them who you are and what you can do for them. Don't throw your entire life story at them. They don't want any heavy reading right off the bat. Draw them in on the homepage so that they want to learn more. If you don't grab their interest in the first 7 seconds, you're liable to lose them altogether. Anticipate what information they want to see. Don't focus on what you want to show them. Figure out what they want to see and deliver it. Put yourself in their shoes. If you were the customer, what would you want to see on someone's homepage? Spend some heavy time thinking about this. It'll really help you create a more productive website. If you operate in a specific geographical area, make that obvious. If you operate in Eastern Texas, for example, that's something people need to know. And by the way, Google needs to know it too. Regardless of what you define as a conversion, make sure your phone number is easily visible. Not having a phone number shown is a showstopper. You want people to contact you, right? Why in the world would you present new prospects with an obstacle like that? Remove obstacles, don't create them. Likewise, make sure that anyone can email you easily. Use an email form rather than displaying your actual email address. This will help limit the amount of spam you receive. Make everything clean and obvious on your homepage. Remove every obstacle to making that conversion. But before you can convert, you have to bring traffic to your website. A major consideration when first designing your website is SEO. This stands for Search Engine Optimization. It refers to your website's propensity to show up in Google searches based on some expected search strings that you have selected. Successful companies recognize the importance of SEO and expend a huge amount of effort and money to get strong search engine recognition. Don't let anyone tell you that it doesn't matter. It absolutely does. Want me to prove it? All I have to do is ask you one question. Do you want to show up on the first page of Google search results without paying for advertising? Well, assuming your answer is yes, well, that requires SEO. SEO is comprised of various techniques. It's not just one single thing. Its goal is to make your site look good to the search engines. If you live in Centerville, Ohio and run a drone company, wouldn't you like to show up when someone types in drone pilots, Centerville, Ohio in Google's search box? That's what SEO does for you. SEO is a huge subject and much more than we can cover in detail here, but I want to get you off on the right foot. The search engine companies won't tell us exactly how they determine a website's goodness, but we do know a few things, and you do need to cover these when you lay out your website. First, determine 2 or 3 search strings that you want to optimize for. These should represent the most common searches that people might type in that should result in your website. Think about what you offer and geographically where you offer it. Have enough text on the homepage about these points so that the search engines can categorize you properly. They visit or crawl websites frequently. Make sure that your text in your selected search strings, along with the specific keywords, appear several times. But don't overdo it. That is called keyword stuffing, and if Google thinks you're doing that, they'll penalize you. As an example, consider the keyword or search string drone pilot. It's important to have that exact phrase in your homepage a couple of times, but make sure to use other wording too. For example, along with drone pilot, make mentions of remote pilot and maybe UAS pilot, and maybe even drone photographer if that's what you are. Additionally, make some references to Part 107 because that also ties in with the concept of drone piloting. Mix it up, reword things, use different phrasing, cover the topic well without keyword stuffing. You want to convince Google that it should place your website on the first page of results when someone types in your keyword search string. You do that by having a lot of content that directly relates to that searched phrase. Another important component of your SEO strategy involves inbound links to your website from other websites. Google wants to know if other people think that your website is important. It does that by looking for inbound links, and particularly links from websites that it considers to be authoritative. So early on, try to get links back to your website from any related websites that you can. This is a high priority item. We mentioned SSL Security Certificates earlier. You must have a secure website, and if you don't, the search engines are liable to overlook you. When you work with your web developer laying out your site, make sure that it will include an SSL Security Certificate. This isn't just a high priority item, this is mandatory. Your website URL must start with HTTPS. In our previous discussion of SEO, we talked about ways to have your website appear during Google searches. This has a name and one that you need to know. Search results that appear freely in searches are called organic. They appear naturally and cost you nothing. The goal of SEO is to increase the number of times your website pops up in organic searches. You also have the option of paying to show up. This uses advertising options available in all the search engines. These are PPC or pay-per-click results. You create an ad campaign with a search engine provider. You give it a title and a couple of lines of text and a list of keywords or key phrases that you want to target. If someone types in that search string, your ad may appear at the top of the page. Your ad appears for free and you only pay for it if someone clicks on it. When they do click it, it takes them to your website. The issue with PPC is that it sounds cheap, but it can get quickly expensive. As part of your PPC campaign, you tell Google or Bing or whoever you're using how much you're willing to pay for each click. If you've picked a really hot search string that your competitors are also using, the threshold payment level may get pretty high. It might sound great to pay 25 cents per click, but if the threshold for some particular keyword is $5 per click, you can run up a big bill quickly. You're basically bidding against your competition on specific keywords. If you're paying high amounts per click, you better make sure that your website is doing a good job of conversion. The search engines do allow you to set ad budgets so that you don't spend more than some predetermined amount each day or each month. But you still need to be careful and monitor your campaigns closely. PPC strategies are complex, and if you decide to go that route, invest some serious time to learn about the environment before you start throwing money at it. Learn about A/B campaigns where you run 2 ads at the same time. The text is the same, but each has a different title. The search engine's analytics will show you which one is getting the most clicks. This helps you drill down to the most effective ads. With excellent SEO, you may get perfectly adequate results from organic search. If you consistently show up on the first page, PPC may be something that you don't even need. But give it some real consideration. Your website is a key factor in the success of your business. If you don't accept that, you're setting yourself up for early failure. Take it seriously. There's no mystery here. You just simply have to do it. Get a good domain name. Make sure that it's a .com. Get yourself a company email account for that domain name. Unless you're a skilled website developer, hire someone to create a nice, professional website. The homepage should grab people's interest in the first 7 seconds. Decide in advance what the website should accomplish. This is the conversion. Design the website from the start to lead people to that act of conversion. Another design feature that must be built in is SEO or search engine optimization. Decide what keywords or search strings people might type into Google or Bing that should result in your website appearing in the search results. Put the text in your pages multiple times and using different wording. Unless you truly operate nationwide, include text that describes the region in which you do business. If you only fly in Ohio, there's no reason for your website to pop up when someone searches for a drone pilot in California. And because it localizes you in searches, you'll be competing against fewer companies. Don't overlook inbound links to your website. These are necessary so that search engines can establish its importance. Lots of references to your website from other sites, especially authoritative ones, is an indicator that people have a high regard for your business. And finally, ensure that your website has an SSL Security Certificate. Your URL must start with HTTPS. Every one of these items is important. Don't skip any of them.